Hello, whatever time of day it is for you. My name is Courtney Brame, and welcome back to Self Yoga. I'm a yoga informed emotional wellness practitioner currently enrolled in a yoga therapy training, looking to just get practice delivering what I found to be really useful and supportive emotional wellness practices and information. Today, this is the Letting Go series from the work of Dr. David R. Hawkins and his book, Letting Go. And so far, we've covered a handful of emotions. We're working our way through the negative emotions, being able to identify what they are, how they may show up for us, and then learning how to just let them go. If you haven't already, please check out the introductory video as well as the Anatomy of Emotions video, because that'll give you an idea of what to expect if this is your first video. Which I don't imagine too many people would come here first, but in the event that you did, uh, last chapter, which was chapter 6, we talked about fear. Fear as an emotion, fear, how it manifests, and then what to do about it. I encourage you to go check out that video. But today we're going to be going into the emotion of desire. So I got 2.25 pages of notes here. So I don't want to waste any time getting into it. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of a just welcome in for ourselves, check in, and just notice how you feel in your body. From wherever you are, whether that be seated or lying down, just take a moment to notice how you planned to prepare yourself for today's session. Are you still moving around? Are you rushing to get settled in? Did you hit play and something happened and you got to kind of get up and move around? Are you finding it difficult to sit still? And just take notice. Notice the pace at which the thoughts are arising in your head right now. And from wherever they are, don't try and move them anywhere. Don't try and reorganize or think something else. Just take notice of what they are. And if you're not having any thoughts at all, congratulations to you. You won yoga. And I say that because that is essentially the state that I think a lot of us find groundedness in, because it's in that state of stillness where we can, in fact, quiet the mind, that we uncover our own voice. Because a lot of the thoughts that we have oftentimes aren't even ours. I mean, even take the fact that you're listening to my voice right now, right? I'm kind of giving you some sort of guidance on not necessarily what to think, but what to think about what you're thinking. So as you breathe, just take notice to what thoughts you are having consistently come up. And now from here, take a deep breath and exhale, sigh it all out. Take one more of those breaths in. Sigh it all out. Continue to breathe at your own pace, being mindful to extend the exhale. And what we're doing here is just bringing our bodies into more of a calm and relaxed state as we prepare to enter these slow movements and be in these postures for a brief period of time as we go over the emotion of desire. And before we get into that, I invite you to just identify what your intention is for today. And if you're the kind of person who needs some movement, feel free to just kind of move around, work yourself into your space. Last time I showed you the 6 movements of the spine, where we just got the spine loose before we got into our practice. So you can do some gentle twists for yourself, extensions, side bends, and then some cat cows. All right. Now, there's no need for me to be aware of what your intention is, but just be mindful of coming back to the intention that you set as we talk about desire as an emotion. All right. So, from wherever you are, feel free to make your way into a seated position. And to start out, go ahead and extend the legs in front of you, seated upright. Point your toes up towards your nose. Try and bring the back of your knees down to the mat. Take a big inhale, arms up overhead, palms facing each other. And as you exhale, keep your chest lifted as you just hinge at the hips, beginning to activate the hamstrings. And then as you get to the peak of that hinge, go ahead and rest your hands at your toes, ankles, shins, or knees, and we'll be in this posture for 3 minutes. All right, so here we are at session 7, letting go desire. David R. Hawkins describes desire as a mild wanting to an excessive, obsessive, driven craving for someone or something. It can be expressed as greed, obsession, fixation, overambition, selfishness, insatiableness, and it is never satisfied. Desire has an underlying quality of drivenness. And when we're at the effect of desire, it's being controlled. When we're in the state of desire, we don't have the freedom to choose. It's that compulsion that's running us. Our obsession is running us. And desire itself can become an obstacle because it's in the way of our choice and our ability to choose. There's this idea that we have to hold on to our desire to get what it is that we want. But the reality is that we don't desire a thing to get it. What happens is that we choose it. And that desire begins to dissipate. When we desire a thing, that says that a thing is not ours. So that inherently creates this psychological distancing between us and that thing. Desire is the same as wanting. And when we want, we assume that what we are desiring just is not ours. So think about that from the perspective of, I want that, I want that, I want that. What are you doing? You're naming that you don't have the thing that you are expressing a desire for, right? So if we look at this as relationships, right? Like you see one of your friends who maybe gets a lot of the ladies, you might see that they're in a happy relationship and you want what they have, right? So when we want that, what happens is that we may subconsciously pursue it, but I don't even think that there's really a pursuit happening. I think that we start to see things in the way through the lens of our desire. And through the lens of our desire, it might seem like what's being drawn to us or what we're being drawn to. I don't call it a pursuit because it's not something that we choose. Pursuit is often a choice. It's like, ooh, I'm going for that. That's what I'm doing, right? I choose that. I choose is completely different and in a different energy field than I want. I want is coming from that state of not having and recognizing that uh, it is yours, right? I know how cheesy that sounds. Go ahead and walk your hands back up through center, and then you can shake your legs out. I recognize how, woo woo or out there spiritual that may sound, but think about what happens when you go from wanting a thing to choosing a thing, right? When I say, uh, I chose to do this, like I choose to be here, I choose to do this. When I say I want to do this, I'm not in it, I'm not doing it, I haven't done anything. I may have made preparations, but even those preparations are not inherently achieving the goal or doing the thing that I set out to do or pursuing it, right? So, yes, you can argue that, but I challenge you to begin to say, I choose, and integrate that more into your vocabulary than I want, and see what happens for yourself. Next, bring your left bottom of the foot in just above the right knee. All right. And we'll begin to we'll take a fold toward the right foot. And this will invite more of an opening in that left hip. If this is too much for you, please feel free to alternate by bringing the heel to the glute, and then you can take that fold. All right, now these are going to be different stretches. When we put this leg back here, you'll feel a little bit more of a quad extension, whereas when the bottom of the foot is at the inner thigh, we'll feel that hip opening up as well. I need this, so I'm going to do this with y'all as I go back through the notes. All right, so take a big inhale. Reach the arms up overhead, hinge at the hips, and then lower the hands so that you're folding forward and you feel an extension along that left hip and through the lower back. 3 minutes here. All right. Desire fuels our running ourselves into the ground and struggle. So letting go of desire and pursuing what we choose means picturing it lovingly with positive emotions and then allowing it to be ours because choice aligns with our experiential beliefs of God, the universe, it's like our own experiences, whatever it is that you believe in. And all we really got to do is just make the request from this place. Now, when we are in a state of desire, David Hawkins talks about the negative emotions being resistance to the positive emotions, right? So when we look at desire, the positive emotion from desire is choice. So now when we make the request, it's more like begging in a negative emotional state. It's, oh, I want this, I need this, it should be mine. There's no action behind it. Whereas with choice, when we have positive emotions behind it, right? We accept that we are capable of and willing to, based on our experiences, we have what is necessary in order to pursue said goal, objective, the thing, the person, even, right? So there's a completely different energy. How many of y'all seen guys or women who are way out of their league, right? They don't say I want that. They may start there, but eventually choices have to be made. Choices that back up the emotion behind it and that back up the beliefs about themselves as the kind of person who can choose that woman, that person. So, speaking to this from a place of choice really reaffirms your own confidence and your own beliefs about yourself. You know, when people say believe in yourself, I think that as I put it up against the work of David R. Hawkins, it's trusting yourself to be able to choose, trusting your decision making, trusting that, you know, whatever it is that you choose, the what's in front of you may not be aligned with that choice. But if it is in fact a choice and it is something that from a positive state of emotion we're pursuing, we can still get everything we want through negative emotions. But it's much more of a struggle. It's not lasting and long term. And I mean nothing is permanent either, right? But there's a difference in what it feels like to have achieved something out of choice versus out of desire. Think about somebody just being with you for out of pity. You may get what you want, but that may not feel good. But think about someone who's with you because they like you. They like being around you. And think about that in the inverse. You've probably done something for someone because you felt sorry for them, or you've done something for someone because you wanted to see them succeed. Go ahead and extend out that left leg slowly, and then you can begin to shake out the leg. But yeah, just think about being on the other end of that, right? Like when a person chooses to be around you versus like has to be around you. Think about cats. Cats are a perfect example. You ever been around a cat that's just like, you may not even like cats, but it's something about when the cat just comes to you and wants to lay in your lap, right? Like you're chosen versus you, oh, come here, please. Or you got to like bribe it. You got to get like some catnip or some tuna or something like that. You know what I mean? It's a completely different energy field. It's a completely different feeling behind it as well. So take that into consideration. Like the cat is choosing to be with you rather than you wanting for or it like wanting for your attention, right? It comes to you. I don't know if that was a really good example, but we're gonna go ahead and switch. We're gonna bring that inside of the right foot to the upper inner left thigh, or you can bring the right heel back behind your glute if you need to see what that looks like. Here it is. Ooh, I don't like this. Yeah, I did legs today this morning, right before I came and got on this recording. Okay, so bottom of the right foot to the inside, just above the left knee. And then take the arms up overhead, rotate toward the left, hinge at the hips, begin to feel that lengthening of the right hip. All right, so um, buying into this idea that it isn't mine maintains that psychological distance, because what we hold in mind is what tends to manifest. And as we let go of desire, one way to do this is to just like write something down on a piece of paper, like your personal goals. And then, hold on. That was an accident. Writing down your personal goals and then practice not wanting them, right? So not wanting can just look like you saying I choose, right? But writing it down is part of the identification process. So you're clearly identifying the object, the thing, the lifestyle, right? And you know what your emotional state is around it. And now try saying I choose this. And what's funny, there's an example in the book about this guy looking for an apartment in New York City, and it was the practice of letting go is what he used. So I can't really do this in real time, but I want to give you this. You got to listen to the book. You got to listen to the book or read the book. But as an example for myself, I remember in college or going to college, I wanted to play Division One football. Didn't matter. No, like that was what I wanted to do. That is what I was choosing for myself. But there was so much desire to play Division One football that my stats were good, grades were good, but I wasn't quite tall enough for the position that I played. And I remember we were getting down to crunch time, and I started to apply for Division II schools. I was like, well, just as a backup plan, but I'm gonna do what I got to do. I sent my highlight tape in. I did everything that I could on my end in order to get into a Division I school to be able to play football. So my school, Southeast Missouri State, they contact me, invite me to camp, and I remember I cried one day before I got this. Like that was me letting go. I cried on the bed because I didn't know if I was going to play football anymore. I didn't know if I was going to play in college, but I knew that I needed to do the things that I needed to do. I had to fill out the applications. I filled in, I submitted my highlight tape. I was still working out and practicing just in case. So I chose it, and then I let it go. And then I got invited to camp. And then I was able to walk on, and then I was able to get a scholarship eventually, right? And this is just my own personal example of putting this letting go technique into practice before I knew that it was a technique. Mind you, I was 17 years old. Okay. Go ahead and extend that right leg out. Ooh. Oh my goodness. And then you can just shake it out, shake the legs out. You can stack your hands back behind you and bring your heels onto the ground and just windshield wiper the knees left to right slowly and feel those hip joints sort of activate. Okay. Now, what we'll do is we'll bring the bottoms of the feet in toward one another, bring the bottoms together, and then you'll grab the outside of your pinky toes and then press the elbows into the inner shins, inner thighs, wherever your body allows for you to go. And then we'll be here for 3 minutes. So it's kind of almost like we're on autopilot when the resistance is removed. Um, a little thing like a song changing while your headphones are in and you kind of overhear somebody say like, hey, I know this Division I school that's looking for athletes. They have trouble with commuting, or a friend just became available for a job just became available. I'm sorry, not friend. A job just became available paying this much money at this company, right? Like that is such a one off thing. Like if you're someone who does listen to headphones all the time at the gym, maybe, and in between a song skipping where you normally just press skip yourself, the song's changing, there's that quiet transition, and then you overhear some conversation about a thing that you have going on in your life that might be useful to you, right? Or even an apartment becoming available. You know, you're looking for a place in a certain area. You tell somebody, yeah, you hear someone talking, yeah, I'm going to rent my place out. You know, I don't need that much. And it happens to be in a location that you want and it's within your budget, right? These are the kinds of things that have to happen when you are so present that you surrender, right? The wantingness, the desire of what it is that you choose. Resistance is synonymous with effort. So whenever there's resistance, we tend to meet that with more effort. But what happens is that we believe the opposite, and it's based on past accomplishments and all the past. We have experience of things working through our effort and working hard for a thing. But the thing is, like, we can challenge this, and it's the ego's attachment to effort and our beliefs about what others' opinions are about us having things happen so easily for us. We think people might get jealous of us or hate that we got something so effortlessly, but they don't know. I mean, they have access to the same resources and information we have, but that's not what it's about. It's not about the effort, it's about the choice. And then from choice, it's a matter of the choices you make that support that. And then it's about the feeling, your own interpretation of how things are going, what's happening, your definitions of success. Unconscious guilt, like we talked about, last time when in the fear chapter, um, it it makes us think that we deserve a lot less than we really do, and then we begin to lock into what I call the lowercase self, like the lowercase c, Courtney, uh, prior to our awareness of this way of being, which is I always talk about the caps lock self. Like this is, when you're coming from a place of choice, that's a big Courtney decision, big C Courtney decision. And I encourage you to try that for yourself so that you too can differentiate between unconscious choice or just things happening and then you choose and go ahead and bring the knees up together, extend the legs. You can windshield wiper the feet, the toes. Now, last time I think I mentioned to you having a strap, a towel, or a block or something. Because I didn't say anything at the beginning, we won't do any of those upper body stretches. But there is one actually that we can do. So I'll have you come onto all fours on your mat, take the knees out wide, and then bring the big toes together. And what you'll do is you'll press your hips back toward the heels and then walk your hands forward. Okay. And then place your elbows on the ground and you'll bring your hands to prayer position. And you might even walk your elbows forward a little bit more. And what we'll do is try and bring the palms of the hands back behind the head so that we can stretch out the triceps. All right. So, what that'll look like is this. And we're just sending our hips back to extend the triceps. When I normally do this, I like to do it this way, where my elbows are on blocks, and then I can just sink down into it and bring my hands back behind me. So if you happen to have blocks, feel free to do that. Um, we'll be here for 2 minutes. We really don't want to be here longer than that. Well, y'all will be there. I got to read. Okay. Now, having, doing, being. So these are kind of the three stages of consciousness. We go from, what we have, what we do, and then who we are. So freedom from negative emotions means entering the having state and then moving to the doing state and then moving to the being state. In the lowest state, having gives us our self-worth and attachment to identity. As we learn, we do and can have. As we learn, we do and can have. The mind becomes more into what we do as the basis of our value, as the basis of our identity. which then becomes more about being of service to others. And in that state, it's really all about unconditionally loving and serving from that state. Who we are becomes most important given the quality of our presence makes people want to experience us. We're not labeled by our actions. We're just somebody who is those intangible aspects of ourselves, right? So, a giving person, a loving person, a caring person, a kind person. That's how people describe us. They don't describe us as somebody with a lot of money, somebody who has that car, somebody with the messed up teeth, somebody with the good fashion sense, right? The intangible aspects of our character, personality traits. These are the things that we become um, identified as. So yeah, who we are becomes most important given the quality of our presence, and it makes people want to experience us. We're not labeled by our actions. We're just someone who is those intangible aspects of self. All right, go ahead and begin to bring yourself back onto all fours. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll hold a lunge. So from wherever you are in all fours, bring your knees underneath the hips, hands underneath the shoulders, and you'll take your left hand and bring it to the center of the mat. If you got your fingertips separated, touch your thumbs together. And then what we'll do is lift that left foot and place it to the outside of the left hand. All right, bring the top of the right foot down to the mat. And then you can just press that right hip down into the mat for a lunge. So you can stay down here, pressing the right hip down. Be sure that the left knee does not extend past your left toes. We want to try and keep it just above the ankle if possible at a 90-degree angle. Now you can keep both hands on the ground, or you can walk your hands up to the quad, and you can press your right hip forward. Try and keep those hips square to where you're pointing everything forward, and you're just lunging in that direction. All right, 3 minutes here. Okay, so we also need to understand glamour. Glamour means, when we understand glamour, that means we let go of desire. We can look at the difference between what we think we want and what the attractiveness is of it. And that's what the glamour is. We might chase a goal, achieve it, and then become disappointed because we made it bigger than it is, thinking that once we get the thing, we'll be satisfied with it. But think about like a job promotion that we've gotten. And David R. Hawkins uses this example of everything that comes with that. We expect admiration, but what happens is that we get envy, we might get jealousy, competitiveness, and now we're paranoid about having to keep this new position that we got. We can take the example of like a nice outfit, right? So someone buys a nice shirt, you spend so much time. Well, this is the example that he gave was with women. So this is something I think we can all relate to or we've seen before. But think about someone in this expensive dress. It's time consuming, going back and forth for fittings and all because you might get a couple of compliments. Like that's what you want, and it's the attachment to the outcome of those compliments that you want. But then like just liking the outfit or liking the dress without any attachment to what the glamour is that you expect, it often brings about uh glamour anyways, but just minus all the effort. So what I mean by that is you can put all this work in the fittings, the picking it, the buying it, the work that goes into making money to buy the dress, the outfit, whatever, and then you do it because you want those compliments. You want people to notice you. And the glamour is that outcome of people noticing you. You can still get the glamour without being attached to the glamour. When you are hoping for and expecting and pursuing or desiring the glamour, it's likely to come, but maybe without all that extra stuff, and maybe not even with the dress at all, right? So if we can just choose the outfit that we're wearing, like, oh man, you know what? I really like this outfit. One that might be less effort, less expensive, one that you just feel good and like, you can still get that praise because it's not what we have or what we wear. It's more about how we wear it. So it's easy to begin to let go of the desire when we can relinquish just the glamour of it and our romanticization of the desire. What this does is that it reveals the lies about the desire. And that's what the glamour is. Like the glamour is like, oh, this is what you can only get this if you have this thing. And this is where it goes back to getting angry about the lies that we've been told, especially in media, about how we're supposed to be or what we're supposed to want. Go ahead and you can kind of walk that left foot forward a little bit because what we're going to do is slowly peel the left toes off the ground, extending that left leg, sending the hip back, and stretch out the hamstring. We'll do this for about 90 seconds. So, um, we might contest having to give up a thing that we desire. And the thing about this is that our power isn't in having to do so, it's in being able to make that choice. So you can do the thing the way that you've always done the thing, but the difference here is that you're conscious of the choice that you're making to be able to take an action because you choose it rather than because you don't even know that you're taking the action that you're taking or why. This presents a completely different energy in itself. So elevating out of desire looks like practicing choice. We choose an outcome and we surrender our resistance so that life just plays Tetris for us as it lets things fall into place. So as we talk about choice, right? Like maybe we think that choice looks like taking some type of action too, but there's also inner choice, inner decision. One exercise can be to practice just journaling out your goals and then let go of the desire for the goals. But let it be what we keep to ourselves rather than projecting it out there, like speaking about it to another person to get help, because we might expect that what happens next is not of our own power. So write it down, keep it to yourself. It's just we're choosing this and we're saying, I choose blank. We're not desiring it, we're not sharing it with others. Go ahead and go back into that lunge position. Now you can slowly bring that left knee under the right hip. You might want to place your hands down and take a couple of knee rotations in that right or that left hip. All right, we'll do the same thing on the other side. Separate the fingers, place that right hand in the center of the mat, bring the right foot to the outside of the right hand. And now we either hinge downward or press the left hip down toward the mat, or you can bring your hands up to the right thigh and then press forward. We'll be here for 3 minutes and then we'll be wrapping it up soon. All right. So, another thing that David R. Hawkins talks about is taking the phrase, my relationships never work out. And we see the power of the mind right there, right? When we listen to that, we start to understand that as a belief and our not choosing, that means we get a payoff that we might not even realize. Selfishness is a way to look at this. That kind of thinking is selfish, which is a thought process that comes out of guilt. It's just too costly and energy consuming for us to be selfish. That lowercase self creates guilt in order to achieve success. And then to even have it, like there's going to be guilt there as well when you get it out of a place of guilt. Feeling guilty does not fix anything. We start to let go of guilt and then we fix the thing. Moving through this lowercase s or lowercase um, self, selfishness into a larger selfishness really means letting go of that small lowercase self so that you can be motivated by just moving through decision and choice rather than moving out of guilt. So, in this session, we mentioned a few different exercises, and I think that they all really revolve around some form of journaling, being able to write down what it is what a goal, we're writing down a goal. And rather than saying, I want this, try saying, I choose this, right? I don't know if you might be someone who has in the past an issue with cheating, or if you know someone who does, but this is a really good exercise for them to really get to the bottom of what it is that they get out of cheating. And maybe perhaps they can choose a relationship, or choose within the relationship that they have, or that they've chosen to be in, how to get what it is that they find out of cheating in that relationship. I know one of the things that I've seen as I run self, I see that people are asking about that specifically. Like, how do I stop cheating? How do I stop gambling? We got to remove the glamour from it, right? Everything that every action may start with a little bit of a desire, right? So I want this feeling, but oftentimes the feeling that we're pursuing can actually be accomplished through a healthier means, or a more honest or aligned way of getting it. Go ahead and kind of creep that right foot forward a bit, and then extend the right leg, pressing the hips back, stretching out the hamstring. So we gotta, I ain't gonna say like, I'm not here to tell anybody what they have to do, right? That's part of what this is. This whole series of letting go. It's letting go of the emotions, it's letting go of our default programming, it's letting go of things the way that we've always done them, the way that people tell us to do them, and being able to choose to do that or not do that. Because of a lot of us, we do things because we don't believe we have a choice. And what David R. Hawkins teaches us here, and he constantly goes back to, is that you can choose to let go, or you can choose not to let go. But you're now aware of this technique, you're now aware of this strategy. And if you choose to use it, you'll see it play out. If you choose not to use it, you'll see it play out. So, my question to you is, why not? Why not allow yourself to just try this out, see what happens, see how it can improve or change your life? What would it mean to you if you were able to accomplish the same goals with less effort, and um more just like more love, more of a sane state? All right, go ahead and bring the right foot down to the ground. You can place your hands back on the earth, and then bring that right knee back. And you can take a couple of knee rotations forward and backwards, that right knee. And from here, go ahead and take the knees out wide, and then walk your hands forward. Separate the fingers as wide as you can, and then press into the palms, reaching your hips back. You can lower your forehead down to the ground. Stay right here and breathe into your back. Big inhale, big exhale. Continue to breathe that way. So for the next session, which is 8, we will talk about anger. So today we got to talk about desire. We got to understand that the power of choice is how we get out of desire, being able to choose rather than to want. All right. So for our exercise, write down a goal, keep it to yourself, say, I choose this, and just see what happens. See what kind of opportunities present themselves for you to be able to just have it. Watch how naturally it flows to you. And if it doesn't, reach out to me. Let me know what the goal was. Let me know what happened. I'm curious. I recognize how this has worked and does work for me in my day-to-day life. I always forget to practice this. So it's good that I'm able to be here and speak to it for you all, um, because it's a reminder. It's a reminder to me to continue to come back to this, to listen to the book again, to put it into practice, and not let my own attention be disperse in all these different directions to where I forget to remember what my own power is, my power of choice. Thank you for your time. Feel free to rest and let this marinate as long as it needs to. I am Courtney Brain. This is the Letting Go series, Self Yoga.